What do you have to do in order to launch a team? And that's what we're going to focus on for the rest of the evening. The first challenge is to come up with a shared purpose. One of the sources of the greatest dysfunction in a team is when people are confused about what the purpose is. And the second is to come up with clear norms or ground rules or community understandings, really mechanisms of self-governance, where you actually decide you're going to govern yourself in these ways. And third, clear roles, like what the responsibilities are and how they're matched up. Now, to be a little more specific about that, when it comes to purpose, there seems to be three elements in coming up with a shared purpose. First, what's our goal? What are we trying to accomplish here? Are we trying to increase voter turnout? Are we trying to pass a new law? Are we trying to achieve world peace, but our first step will be to get Cambridge City Council to pass a resolution? Or what's our purpose? Why are we together? And then secondly, we're a leadership team. Who is it that we're organizing? Who is it that we're providing leadership to? Who are we working with? Who's our constituency? And thirdly, what kinds of things are we going to do? Are we going to, have leafleting campaigns? Are we going to do voter registration? Are we going to develop leadership? Are we going to have a sit-in in City Hall? Or, what kinds of activities? Now, that's the first piece of work. And in just a few moments, we're going to show an example of how that can work, and then debrief. The second piece is about norms. And you say norms, and right away, lots of people, well, we don't need any norms. I don't want norms. Or we're all adults here, we don't need norms, we're grown-ups. We don't have to do that kind of stuff. We respect each other. We're not children. That's usually a sign that group's in big trouble. Because what norms are about, they're about making a compact with each other about how we're going to work with each other. And the critical elements are, how are we going to make decisions? Not when we're facing a tough decision, but now. So that when we face those tough decisions, we're prepared. There's no one right way to make decisions, but the critical piece is to be prepared with a way, whether it's consensus or voting or fist of five or whatever it might be. The second thing is about how you deal with commitments. This thing of like, I said that I would do X and I show up at the next meeting and, oh, geez, I had a lot of work to do. Well, what do you do with that? Everybody just says, oh, well, that's tough, I get it. Any accountability? Any opportunity to coach this person about, well, how did they try to do it? Maybe they didn't know how. Maybe they needed more help and didn't ask for it. Or is it just passed over and then we have a new norm in which commitments don't mean anything anymore? You know what I'm talking about? See, norms, unless they're honored, they change. Time is a third, a really important norm. We show up on time, we're going to end on time. Somebody wanders in, half hour late. Nobody says anything. Everybody just kind of looks down, ignores it. What's your new norm about time? You can show up whenever you want. So norms don't mean anything unless there is a mechanism through which there's a correction. It's addressed, it's recognized, and appropriate action is taken. Now, this isn't like punishment. This is accountability. And it's really about respect. It's really about, we make a deal, well, we got to honor the deal. And see, this exercise in self-governance is really fundamental. We talk about democracy and democratic practice and wanting to honor democracy. Well, we got to start with honoring these kind of constitutional moments in the groups within which we work so that we honor the hard work that everyone is doing in those groups and the values that are at stake. Then there's roles. How do we design the roles? Is it because, so-and-so always wanted to do X, or is it because, if somebody puts me in charge of finance, boy, they make a big mistake. Roles require looking at first, what are the outcomes? It's not like stapling stapling leaflets or something. The role might be to be responsible for communication. And how are we going to evaluate that? It also needs to reflect capacities. What does this role require? And what do our team members bring? It's like I was saying, if somebody wants, somebody to design a class, and that's part of the role, I'm good for that. You want me to do the books? I'm bad for that. And so it's not so much about popularity, or it's about trying to match the resources of the people on your team with the roles that they require. And finally, when it comes to organizing, a critical piece is constituencies. In other words, a lot of the roles on a team involve somebody responsible for this town, for that town, for the other town, or for this community, that community, the other community, so that it's very clear that it's an outward-facing team, not an inward-looking team. You know, sometimes a team can become a dot too, where you have a team dot, and all they do is talk to each other, and they really have a great time, and they do lots of strategizing, but they never reach out and mobilize anybody. So it's structuring it in such a way that that actually happens. And finally, there's a question of identity, which is crucial, that the team have a name, and believe it or not, that it have a chant. Sounds silly, right? Actually, it's not.